Welcome to the Haven for Soul Care, the podcast where we explore the art of nurturing the mind, body, and spirit. Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, insightful conversations, and practical tips to help you create a life of balance, peace, and purpose. Whether you're seeking guidance on personal growth, wellness, or simply need a moment to reconnect, this is your safe space. I'm your host, Brianna, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in and take care of the soul. Welcome to another episode of the Haven for Soul Care. I'm your host, Brianna, and we have Amberly Lago with us on today. And I'm excited to have a conversation with you because reading your story about your ex, I really want to get into the accident part. I know you have so many different layers to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you introduce yourself, and then I just have a ton of questions.
Oh, well, thanks for having me on. We got to talking and I was like, "Oh yeah, we're recording a podcast, right?" Because
Uh-huh.
we were just getting to talk. So thank you. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
having me on. Yeah, well, today you're the first person to meet my little nugget of joy. I'm
Ah,
sitting here and I got an early birthday present, a new puppy, and I think we are going to name her Nugget. And it's also a big day because my book, Joy Through the Journey, just hit bookshelves today.
yeah.
So it's like, wow, to, be an author and just pour your heart and soul into a book and for it to be here. I'm feeling all the feels because this is raw and real. And I share a lot of my story that I've never shared before, actually. So, I do talk a little bit about my motorcycle accident and how that changed my life. But just so the listeners kind of understand, they're probably thinking, well, I can't relate to a motorcycle. I was hit by an SUV while riding my motorcycle. And the thing is, I think that we've all been hit by something in the past few years for sure. I mean, whether it's our health or our finances or our relationships, maybe it's our job, maybe it's your whole identity. And for me, everything changed in the blink of an eye. I was in the fitness industry and, I employed several other trainers. I was regularly contributing to Shape Magazine and Fit Pregnancy and Health. And it was just my love, and exercise was my drug of choice. Like I was addicted to running. So I had just finished work, and on my way home from work, I'm cruising along. It was a beautiful, sunny California day, and I'm on my Harley when this SUV shoots out of a parking lot and I get T-boned and then thrown 30 feet. And as I came to a stop, I looked down at my leg and I didn't even want to let go of it. I was afraid it was going to fall off. It was just crushed into pieces. There was blood everywhere. I didn't realize at the time that my femoral artery was severed. And I had a guardian angel, I'm telling you, come over right away. And he took his belt off and made a tourniquet around my leg. And I was rushed to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, paramedics were, it was pretty frantic. Uh, I kind of thought, well, maybe I'm going to die because the paramedics weren't making eye contact with me at all.
Mhm.
And then finally, one nurse leaned over me and she said, "We're going to give you something to make you feel all better now." And that's when they gave me something, put me in induced coma. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up out of a coma. And it felt like, that was a blink of an eye. You don't realize how long I'd been out or in a coma for over a week. And I learned I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation. And the doctor said, this is like a war wound. There's nothing we can do for you. We need to amputate. And all I could hear in that moment is a 1% chance. And that was my glimmer of hope and what really allowed me to get through each day, one step at a time, 34 surgeries in total. And they saved my leg from amputation. And I really thought, the worst is over. I don't know. Sometimes you think, oh, well, that was terrible. Now it's going to get better. I'm going to get back to work. I'm going to get back to the things I was doing. And I remember being excited to go in for a doctor's checkup because I was already upright on crutches. And he took a look at me and said, "You've got something very serious." And I thought, well, yeah, I get hit by an SUV, but look, I'm upright already on my crutches. And he said, "No, you've got an incurable nerve disease. It's called complex regional pain syndrome, and your life is never going to be the same." And he said, "You need to go back and get in your wheelchair." And I said, "Okay, well, for how long?" He said, "No, forever. You will be permanently disabled. You will never be able to walk. You'll never be able to work. There's no cure."
Mm.
And I felt like I had been given a death sentence. I mean, I literally felt like I was just kicked in the gut. And I didn't go home and get back in my wheelchair. Instead, I went to physical therapy and I thought, and Terry, the physical therapist, said, "What are you doing here, Amberly? You don't have an appointment today." And I said, "I know, but I've just learned that, I've been diagnosed with this incurable nerve disease, and I'm going to have to work harder than I've ever worked before if I want to have the life that I've always imagined." And so through this journey, it's definitely taken me um, down difficult paths, hit roadblocks. I even hit rock bottom at one point. And by getting up again and again, I've learned some lessons. And then in my new book, I share how I feel that joy and pain can coexist, and we get to choose the path of joy, choose to build upon the joy. And it's really about embracing gratitude and being in the present moment and
Mhm.
um, sparking joy along the way.
Wow. That's incredible because when you think about joy, you don't think about pain being in the same sentence. Uh,
Hmm.
and so normally people equate joy with everything is going good in my life. There's nothing wrong. Um, so if you can give us just a little insight into how did you get to that moment where joy and pain could coincide in the same sentence?
Because there's not a day that goes by that I don't have extreme pain. And, this nerve disease is baffling. Although they still don't have a cure, I believe that I'm not giving up on any, treatment. I mean, it's kind of imagine feeling like I have it in my right leg, and it's kind of like having a vice grip or 1,000 rubber bands wrapped around my foot. And
Mm.
sometimes it gets so bad that I have been back in a wheelchair. So I decided that, you know what, I can sit and focus on this pain and, stare down at my leg and feel sorry for myself and ask, why me? Or I can say, you know what? I choose to have a life filled with courage and joy, and I'm choosing to focus on the joyous parts in my life. And I think that it's important to really, what we focus on is what we find. And so I just made a habit of searching out things that bring me joy. And that's like one of the reasons I have this cute little puppy sitting in my lap right now. Let's hopefully she's going to be good, but we just got her last night.
Yeah.
But I think that when you actively go out there and seek joy, it is possible to, ignite that more in your life, even though you deal with pain or challenges, and it's not waiting for the right moment, or you'll be, have joy when this happens, or you achieve this, or you make this much money, or you meet this person, or you finish writing your book. It's really about the journey and enjoying the journey the whole way through.
Mhm. I love that. I have something that years ago I came up, I was in prayer one day and it was just something that I felt like the Lord was speaking to me, and from that moment on I began to say you have to find God in every moment.
Oh, yeah.
If you can find God in every moment, good or bad,
Hmm.
you will experience joy and gratitude. There's no way you can't.
I love that. I agree. And, I think that all the surgeries and all the challenges that I've been through, it is actually, I always had a great relationship with God, but I think that It has really even strengthened my relationship even more. And, I get on my knees and pray as well in the morning, and it reminds me to start my day with God, but it also reminds me how small I am and how big God is.
Yes, yes. And oftentimes, um, tragedies, will push us to God. I used to work in the hospital as a chaplain, and I used to love going into rooms where a person might have had doubts about God, or they
Oh.
didn't think that God loved them, or and going in and being able to be present with them and listening to their story, and then it would be that moment that I could see God shining in. I mean, it would, some moments just made me weep. I had a moment where God he just didn't feel like he was worth even being here
Oh.
on the earth, and that God just had forsaken him. And, we began to do his story. And it was at the end of his story that it was a day that was cloudy, and the sun, it is no lie, shined right in.
Wow.
And when the sun, and I said, that's God speaking to you and letting you know how much he loves you.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I can get in my own way and, you know, be stubborn and think, oh, I just got to do this. I got to get it all done. I got to do it myself. And I always remind myself, fully rely on God. And so I say that often. And I have a frog that my daughter made me.
Oh, look at that. That
Isn't
is so
that cute?
cute.
And it
It is.
reminds me, fully rely on God.
Yeah.
So when I see a frog, I'm like, yep, I need to fully rely on God. Stop thinking I need to do everything and, figure things out. I need to rely on God.
Yeah. It triggered a thought for me, right? So before your accident, you had this for life. So I mean, you were moving and shaking because some of the magazines that you named, I'm like, I had those magazines sitting on my coffee table looking at other people work out now, looking at us. Um, and so you had this for life going. Were you married prior?
I was married and we had a 2-year-old and a 15, oh, was she 15? Yeah, and a 15-year-old. So I had one daughter that was she was going into high school, and another daughter who had just started preschool, and I had never been away from her ever. And now it was 2 weeks of being in ICU and I hadn't seen my daughter. So imagine, not being separated from her and then all of a sudden 2 weeks. And I just wanted to be able to see her. And they kept telling me, well, if you can sit up in your wheelchair, then we can roll you out, but we can't let any children in ICU. There was a big, risk for infection. So they were really scared of my leg getting an infection, and because it was completely open and exposed.
Hmm.
Every time I would try to sit up and get in a wheelchair, my vitals would just all the machines would start beeping and my heart rate would skyrocket. And because my leg was so broken into pieces and it was held together by these metal rods, it was like re-breaking my leg. And in the
Mm.
moment, every single time I would try to sit up, and I would just have tears running down my face. And I was so determined to be able to see my daughter that those amazing nurses like cleared the hall and they snuck in. They were like they snuck my daughter into the room to see me, and that was one of the best days of my life.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Um, I love it. You know, what I have found, what I have come to learn about God is that oftentimes he has a way of sitting us down, right? Um, and the way that he oftentimes does it is sometimes he puts us on our back. And it's like life comes to a complete halt.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what I've also have come to find out and what I have come to learn about God is that I listened the first time, because I used to be a person who would listen on the 10th time, and by the 10th time, I'm on my back,
Mm-hmm.
flat on my back, can't do anything. Um, and so I want to ask you, prior to your accident, do you do you recall God ever trying to tell you to sit down or to sit before him?
Oh, I just feel like honestly that still I can't sit here and tell you that
Hmm.
that still doesn't happen. And I get
Hmm.
to the point, and I actually write about it in my book how I learned this lesson because I kept ending up in the hospital with infections because I would just go and go and go. And I thought it was all about let me just grit it out, let me just push harder and hustle more to the point where I ended up in ICU. And the doctor said, if you would have waited one more day, you would have been dead. And I thought,
Yeah.
wow, when am I going to start listening the first time?
Yes.
And I just had many misconceptions about grit. I mistook stubbornness for strength. I mistook health scares for heroic acts, fear for function, and sacrifice for success, and told myself that this was good. This was grit. This is what you have to do. And I've just learned that no, that's not what we have to do. It is what I've learned is grit without connection. And when I say connection, connection to God, connection to your soul, connection with
Hmm.
others. Without it, it's just resistance. But grit with connection is where you truly find resilience.
Hmm. I love this because it's making it when the audience, they're familiar with me sometimes when I say I feel like getting up and running and shouting because what I love is that the God is so simple. He's so very simple yet complex. And I have come to find out that I experience the greatest joys of life, and I never miss moments in life when I sit. And when I say sit, because as women who are business owners, and we're constantly moving and shaking, but it's when I say, okay, this is enough. I can't do this. I'm
Mhm.
trying to do this on my own. Let me sit. And when I say sit, not necessarily sitting down, but just what is in front of me.
Mhm.
It keeps coming in front of me. And when my
Mhm.
children were younger, it would oftentimes be them.
Yeah.
It would
It's,
all,
like, yeah, to be present,
yeah.
in the moment.
Hmm.
And you know, I had a couple of people reach out to me today and they say, I hope that today, I know it's a big day for you. You're launching your book today, and there's probably a million things to do. But I hope that you sit and really take this moment in that all of your hard work throughout the last couple of years is finally here. And you really, and so I think what you're saying is just such a good reminder for me as well, just to really um, soak it in, take the time to just soak it in.
Yes. Yes. Because oftentimes you will miss your own celebration trying to get to the next win.
Mm-hmm.
So many people are constantly setting bars that God is like, I didn't set that bar for you.
Mm.
You're going way ahead of me.
Uh-huh.
Sit in this moment and let and celebrate our partnership together and see
Yeah.
what we've done together.
Yes, I
And
love that.
and you are such a someone who is so impactful by your story alone and your resilience. And you're sitting here, you're beautiful. You have this new beautiful book. You have a beautiful spirit. You have everything in this one moment to celebrate and just
Mm.
be like, God, we did this.
Thank you for saying that. Oh, you're going to make me cry. Tears of gratitude. But I mean, yeah, thank you for saying that. This is just like, I'm so glad that we met, and I needed that reminder because it's just been, woo, it's just
Mhm.
been go, 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 email, 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 nonstop, nonstop. And this was just so meant to be to get to talk with you today,
Oh,
and yeah, and to just get to celebrate
yeah.
um, with you. And I don't know if you feel this way, but do you ever feel like when you're about to do something and it's your talk, I talk a lot about God in my book, and it's very faith filled.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like whenever I'm doing something big, and especially if I'm talking about God, the resistance is real. The
Oh yeah.
resistance comes up. And I mean, it was just like wild yesterday. I was trying to post about the book, and it was glitching on Instagram. Then it wouldn't load up on Facebook. I'm like, wow, something's really trying to stop me, but I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm going to keep sharing this book. But so have you felt like that before?
Oh yeah. When things like that happen, I always know that this is going to be so impactful to the kingdom of darkness. It's the kingdom of darkness like shaking in their boots because this is going to be a light to so many people who are in a dark place. There are so many
Mm.
people who are in situations now that need your book, and it's like your book is their light. Your
Oh.
book is the reason they're going to continue to go on, and the enemy knows this. And if he can
Mm.
stop you, and they never get that, then guess what? That's the end of their life, right? Because you are their answer. You are the answer to their prayer. This book is what is going to pull them out, up and out. And so, oftentimes, do I experience? Yes, all the time. Especially when I'm like fat and I'm on a fast, and I'm seeking God. I'm like, Lord, what is the next move? What do you need me to do? What is it? Because and it's like things come up.
Yeah.
Like I get these weird phone calls. I get people I haven't even spoken to in years, like calling me, and I'm like, this is the enemy wants me to be distracted.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to be
Yes.
distracted and get off course, but I refuse to because I recognize you. I
Yeah.
try never, one thing I try never to do is get too comfortable. Because if I become too comfortable, then when these things happen, I'm gonna be off guard. I'm just gonna catch me, and I'm gonna find myself, maybe I'm gonna abort the mission, or be so distracted or become so discouraged that I won't follow through with what God needs me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that comes up, and I talk about that actually in the book too. Distractions I mean, man, they're the enemy of momentum for
Yes.
sure. And I mean, sometimes distractions can look new and exciting and shiny, and it's nothing but a distraction.
Hmm.
And especially in today's world where there are so many distractions, and I see how fast my daughter scrolls through like TikTok. I'm like, how do
Hmm.
you even see that fast to scroll? But it's like, when I was in the middle of writing the book, I tried turning my phone on vibrate, do not disturb,
Hmm.
vibrate. I would still feel the phone vibrate. And so I ended up like chunking my phone across the room. Not like it landed on the sofa. So
Yeah.
I wasn't that wild and crazy, but I had to cut out those distractions because it was important for me to get this message out there for people that they can cultivate resilience and spark
Hmm.
joy amidst life's ups and downs.
Yes, yes, and I'm glad you did. I'm glad you persevered through it. But it's hard not to persevere when God's hands are on you, right?
Mm.
It's almost as though I tell people there are a remnant of people who has the resilience, the spirit of resilience in them. It is.
Oh,
It's a remnant, and those who I am privileged to encounter. I'm oftentimes intrigued about their entire life. Like I want to know your birth story because this is not something that we learn. This is something that we're born with.
oh, wow.
You know, um, some people will function dysfunctional But then there are other people who are functioning and pushing past every opposition that comes their way because they were born into it. Like,
Well, it's when you're sharing this, it reminds me of what my husband always tells me. He says, man, God just keeps spitting you back out. Like it's not you, you've had so many lives, and He just keeps spitting you back out. And he was like, you just won't die. And I'm like, honey, that is not nice to say. He goes, it's the truth. He's
yeah.
like, think of how many times things have happened to you, and you just keep getting back up.
Mhm. That's funny. I remember I was young in my walk with the Lord and things were so hard in my life. My daughter was diagnosed with cancer. I had lost my dream home.
Wow.
Um, I wasn't working, couldn't get a job. I mean, it was just so much stuff. And I remember I had set stuff up in a way that if something was to happen to me, my kids would be taken care of, right? You know how we do as parents. And so I remember laying in the bed and I was praying. I was like, Lord, I'm ready. Like you could take me now. I know I'm good. I'm going. I will make it into heaven. And my
Yeah.
kids, they will be good. Financially, they're gonna be good. And I remember laying there and it was like the Lord took me up in this vision. And I was like, what I saw, like I can't even repeat some of the stuff I saw. But by the end of the vision, he said, I'm not done with you.
Wow.
And I was just like,
Wow.
but yeah.
And that too, just having time to just be still,
Hmm.
just to be still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
yeah.
how is your daughter?
Honey, my daughter's 21. She was 5.
Oh
She's
my
21 now.
goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I remember the first I used to do cancer facilitate cancer groups and we had a big function and I always would introduce myself and tell my journey with my daughter and why the groups were so near and dear to me. And so we had a family friends event and it was really big and I said and they were like, are you gonna bring your daughter? And I'm like, yeah, I'll bring her, and so we come and I take the stage and I'm talking and my daughter is beside me. I have a son too. And so and they're like, that's Naraya. And I'm like, yeah, that's Naraya. And I said, well, she's I think at that time she was probably 17, 16, 17. And I said, cancer didn't take her out. I said, but mommy might take her out because she is one of those young girls.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and she's up there and she's laughing, and so they're like, "We just love your mama." My daughter's funny, so she says, well, I don't know how y'all love her. I don't know how y'all even get along with her. So
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah,
So is
yeah,
this
but
the daughter that has the your grandpup?
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yes. So yeah, so resilience is something that we're just born with it. You're born into a particular space and time, and it's like, okay, for such a time as this, we're
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Um, so I want us to talk about before we end. So how does reconnecting with one's purpose? I have this question wrote down, but I want to know along the way, did you ever feel like you lost purpose? And if you did, how did you reconnect? How did you find it again?
Yeah, well, for sure. Like when was I feel like everything. I feel like honestly, and this sounds really shallow, but I was I mean, my whole life. So I was a professional dancer before I got into the fitness industry. And this is going to really be dating myself, but my first music video was with MC Hammer. Can't touch this. I was in that video.
Get out of here.
Little fun fact. Yeah, I really
Get
thought
out of here. Oh my gosh.
I have made it. I am with the one and only MC Hammer. I can't believe I'm getting paid to do what I love. And then being in the fitness industry back then, I didn't even have social media. And I was like a walking advertisement for my business. I was always in workout clothes and people would come up to me because I looked fit. So my body image, I kind of was my identity, you know? And
Mm-hmm.
then when that's all stripped away, you
Mm-hmm.
know, $2.9 million worth of medical expenses, a lien on our house. I no long, you know, I'm now scarred and, you know, from the hip down. I couldn't, you know, my foot, they had to put my foot back on my leg. And I always joke, I'm like, well, they got it back on, but they put it on crooked. So if my foot's a little crooked, my ankle's fused. So I felt like I had lost my purpose
Mm-hmm.
because as much as I wanted to get back to work and I tried and tried to go back to what I was doing and it didn't work. And I really, you know, don't think that resilience means going back. I think it's really choosing to move forward
Mm-hmm.
and have a life of courage, stepping out of your comfort zone. And sometimes it's baby stepping it all the way. But how I really decided to find purpose again was one of the first questions I asked was, you know, well, what brings me joy?
Mm-hmm.
And what brings me joy is when I get to see transformation happen in others, especially women, when I get to work with women. And I thought, well, I might not be able to do the kind of work that I was doing one on one with each one person at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But what could I do that I could still be of service and to others and their success? Because that's where I feel like your fulfillment really lies. And so I thought, well, I can go and back to school. I can get, you know, a coaching certification. So that's what I started to do. Started coaching women. Then I started speaking on stages. And then before long, I had people asking me, well, how did you learn to write your book? How did you get on stage? How did you do this and that? And so I was sharing one, you know, DM at a time, one email at a time, one phone call at a time. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to put together a mastermind and I'm going to teach women because we need more women on stages. We need more women writing books and doing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I am going to teach women how to really increase their influence. And it all started with asking myself that one simple question of what brings me joy. So I encourage you listening to really, if you are searching for your purpose is already within you. And it's usually what sparks joy in your life. And
Mm-hmm.
it might even be something that seems or comes super easy to you. So you might not even think of it as your calling or your purpose because it just comes easy to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry. This little puppy over here,
Oh,
I'm
it's
like,
fine. It's
I'm
fine.
sorry. I'm like, oh my family getting me a puppy and still we don't even have a collar yet, no leash yet, no dog bed yet. So yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah.
it's all right. It's all right. When you were talking, my mind, I see things. I always tell people I see things in puzzles. And you were talking, and I could see it wasn't that you had ever lost your purpose, but it was more you just had to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Pivot and do something that where I still get to help people, but in a
Hmm.
different way.
In a different way because you're still making women feel good about themselves.
Mm. I
You are.
love when you can see that transformation and see, you know, I don't know. I love I can see the potential in somebody. And sometimes I think we need somebody to believe in us before we
Yes.
can believe in ourselves. For
Hmm.
me, that's how it was anyway. And I just love seeing other women step into their power and
Hmm.
being there to cheer them on the whole way.
Yeah, yeah, and you were doing it with the physical exercise and things like that. But now we want to look good on the outside, but you're doing it on such a deeper level because what's the purpose of the shell looking good, but the inward feels awful,
Exactly.
you know? So you're just doing it on a deeper level. And when I feel good about myself on the inside, I mean it's gonna show on the outside anyway, right?
It sure does. It sure does.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us the name of your book again.
It's called Joy Through the Journey.
Hmm. And
And
today's
it's
launch day. We are going to go out and buy up the book, y'all. So make sure.
thank you. Yeah, actually, you know what? I created free bonuses and a book club, and I'm having a virtual book party. I hope you
Oh,
can come because
yes.
yeah, I just wanted to create a space for people to connect and share joy and just have a fun time. And I'm going to be doing giveaways too.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a ton of giveaways. So I'm giving
Oh, wow.
signed copies of the book, a Choose Joy gold necklace. I don't know if you know, do you know who Leah Valencia Key is?
No, I'm not
Oh
familiar.
my goodness. I love her. She makes the most beautiful jewelry. And so we
Oh,
collaborated and did a Choose Joy necklace, and I'm giving away tickets to my Unstoppable Success Summit, and also scholarship to my year-long program for free.
oh,
So,
wow. So when are you going to do the party?
oh well, I'm doing the party. I'm not sure when this is coming out. The party's this Thursday, so this might
Okay.
not be out by then. But
Okay.
you can still get the free bonuses if you head on over to,
Okay.
um, yeah,
Oh,
head
good.
on over to my Insta. It's in the bio of my Instagram, Amberly Lago Motivation, or
Mm-hmm.
go.amberlylago.com/joy.
Oh, good. It'll be in the description as well. To all the listeners, please go to the description. You will find every link to get to Amberly and to get to her free resources, her Instagram, her. You have a Facebook?
I do. I do.
So, so all your
I'm not
social
as
media.
good on Facebook, but I'm trying.
Yeah,
I'm getting
I'm
better.
not as good on Instagram. If you're doing Instagram, you're doing really good because I can't. I still can't figure it out.
You know what? I think it's just important if you find what kind of, you know, what's rocking and rolling for you. If Facebook's your thing, then stick with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the Instagram is kind of where my jam is. That's where, you know, I share behind the scenes stories and stuff like that. But yeah, oh, social media. Between it all, Threads, TikTok, LinkedIn, you name it, there's always
I know.
something.
Yeah, yeah. Mine was TikTok. I was doing good with TikTok, and then here we go. Have to start over because I can't even get into my TikTok.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think I might have to. My daughter gave me a hack, so I'm gonna try her hack and see if I can do it that way. But if not, then yeah.
Oh my good. Well, you know what? There is I don't know if it's still going on, but there was like a scam that was going on Facebook, and it was this guy saying he had a podcast opportunity for you, and then they get you on Facebook, and that's where they record the podcast and this and that. And I fell for it. It seemed legit. And as soon as I got online with them, my gut told me something's off about this. I had a
Yeah,
feeling. And so I said, you know what? I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with this. And I logged off really quick.
yeah.
That's all it took for them to get whatever they needed to get. And and
Clone you.
they took my Facebook account, my business page.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
Mm,
happened to two other people that I've talked to,
yeah.
and I couldn't get it back.
Yeah, yeah. This stuff is just getting so just ridiculous how they're doing this. And because what they're doing is they're taking your accounts and then making money off the
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, so I thank you for joining us. I do.
Well, thank you. If you're in Dallas, let me know. I'd love to see you.
I will. I will. I
Yeah.
will. I'm planning on doing a lot of more traveling this coming year. We're gonna see. I
Okay.
plan to do it. We'll see what God has in store for me. So
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and
you're
it just
welcome.
was fun to celebrate book launch day with you today. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Until next time, we will see you then. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Haven for Soul Care. We hope today's conversation has provided you with the encouragement and tools to take care of yourself and embrace the journey ahead. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and sharing it with others who may benefit. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Take a moment today to nurture your soul. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.